Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is season 2 of Woodbeard Meets Makers. My name is Christian. I'm your host. Season 1 was short but sweet. I had 3 amazing guests, and I loved every second of it. This season, I'm going to try to up the ante. I'm going to attempt to upload 1 episode a week and meet some brand new people that I haven't met in real life before. So, wish me luck. If you're a maker out there and would like to be involved and chat with this socially awkward woodworker, please send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at IamWoodbeard, or shoot me an email at podcast@woodbeard.ca. So let's get season 2 going. I'm starting this one off right with a conversation I was lucky to have with a woodworker, artist, woodsman, and all-around great person by the name of Adam Robert Martin. As you'll hear me saying this, Adam is the first person I'm actually meeting on the podcast called Woodbeard Meets Makers, so it's no longer just a clever name. How about that? All right, I'm gonna get out of the way. I hope you enjoy this. Here's my conversation with Adam Robert Martin. I just want to thank you, man. It's so cool to meet you. You're actually, I've called this Woodbeard Meets Makers, but you're the first maker I'm meeting on the podcast. My previous guests have all been people I knew before and stuff, so this is pretty rad. I really appreciate you chatting with me. So I just want to start off by gauging your comfort levels here on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you'd rather be anywhere else, or 10, this is the best thing ever. How comfortable are you talking about yourself?
Yeah, no, awesome question. I'm comfy talking about myself, especially in a comfortable environment like this with another maker.
Yeah.
But no, this is an uncomfortable situation to be in for me, for sure. I don't love the interview, like a job interview, for example. Like, I'll dread it, but I'll do fairly well. And I think that just like the comfort of maker to maker really does help big time.
For sure. Yeah. And also, I mean, we both are woodworkers, so I was really looking forward to this one because I'm like, I will know some of what you're talking about, which is cool.
Yeah. Plus, we both have beards, so that's good.
That's true as well. That's true. Yeah. That always helps. All right. So some quick rapid fire questions to get to know you. Favorite color?
It's got to be green, like
Green.
any kind of shade of naturally green. Yeah.
Nice. Favorite food or meal?
I'm a pizza guy, or like Italian in general, like a solid lasagna. You can't beat a lasagna in my.
What are your pizza toppings, your go-tos? 'Cause I'm a big pizza guy
Well,
too.
yeah. Well, I'm a meat eater. I'm a meat eater, but my wife is not a vegetarian, but very veggie heavy. And so she brings a lot of that into my taste too, which is awesome, I think. So like green pepper guaranteed. Got to have some pepperoni. I love a good sausage in there. And I'm a big olive fan too. Yeah.
Green or black or both?
I'll get both, but green olives, I think, in general. Yeah.
Could not agree more. Nice. That's awesome. I'm bacon, mushrooms, green olives. That's usually my go-to.
Nice. See, I'm so jealous of people like that live in like a proper city. Like, you're in Toronto, right? So like
Hamilton.
okay, nice. Well, your options are endless for something like pizza.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled in Hamilton too. It's got award-winning pizzerias here, so
Oh, it's
I'm not
awesome.
complaining. Yeah. Do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, That's really tough. I'm a huge movie nerd. I love film. Um,
Nice.
but like when it really boils down to it, I've been a Star Wars nerd since I was a baby. So
Nice.
when it comes to movies, and if I had to give my favorite movie, it's got to be something Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back, I think, is one of the best films ever made, honestly.
Completely agree. Yeah, my wife is a massive Star Wars fan. I always grew up on it too, and I thought I loved it, but then I met her, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what
Yeah.
like
Oh,
pure love and devotion looks like. I see. Okay. uh, did you see the Andor season 2 trailer came out today?
oh, I didn't see that yet. No, but I think that's some of the best Star Wars made since 1983. Honestly,
Yeah.
the Andor series is, with all the ups and downs that the new Star Wars is seeing coming out, like since
Mm-hmm.
Disney bought it and whatever, Andor has been like a bullseye, I think.
Yeah. 100%. Rogue One as well.
Yeah,
That's just an
big time.
amazing film. Yeah. But yeah, you gotta watch the trailer. It's so good.
Definitely watching that tonight. Yeah.
Nice. Lastly, do you have a favorite band or music genre that you tend to lean towards?
That's another tough one. Like,
Mhm.
for me,
I
music's
saw you
super
quoted
important to me.
Weezer the other day, and I was like,
Yeah, totally. Um, and when it comes to music, like I'm all over punk rock and all the various punk rock genres.
nice,
Um, but I'm also a huge metalhead from way back, and but also like I love classical music and like folk, and so I'm kind of all over the map. My
nice.
playlists are effed, you know. Like there's not much. Yeah, there's not much cohesion there. To me, it's always about the song, less about the artist and more about the song. Um, if I had to like give you like an artist, I grew up hearing a lot of like Simon and Garfunkel.
Nice.
Yeah, and that kind of thing. Like I don't know, uh, it's hard to pick an artist, but if an art, I love almost every single song that S&G ever put out. So put on the spot, Simon and Garfunkel, big.
Nice. Nice. That's a good one. My parents raised me on Beatles and Beach Boys. My mom was massive Beatles fan. My dad Beach Boys. But yeah, they had kind of everything in between. A lot of James Taylor, a lot of CCR, a lot of. My dad loved like the Who and the Guess Who. Uh, so yeah, I'm kind of the same. I've been doing a thing for the last couple years now where I'm just listening to every single song that I've ever put in iTunes over like decades, however long I've had it, and I'm just listening to them in order by the artist,
Oh
and
wow.
it's so fun because yeah, you get like one artist, you'll get like a punk song, a full album of punk stuff, followed by like emo, and then singer songwriter, and then Britpop, and I'm just like, this is great.
Oh, what a cool experiment. Like to look at that in order to see like
Yeah,
an evolution of like of you and your tastes, and like
yeah,
that's really
right.
cool.
There
Yeah.
has been a few things that I'm like, why did I ever add this? Wow, that's not as good as I remember it. But for the most part, the vast majority has just been a joy to revisit some of the stuff I'd forgotten about.
I
Yeah,
love that.
that's pretty
It's
cool.
so
Yeah.
autobiographical, right? Like that's so go so
Yeah.
dope. That's really cool.
Yeah. 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 I noticed I started it because I noticed I made a playlist. I was curious how many songs in my iTunes have I never listened to? Because like everyone's like a digital hoarder now, right? You just
Yeah.
accumulate all this stuff. And it was like tens of thousands of songs. And I'm like, that's not right. So I was just like, I'm going to start from A and just work my way through the alphabet and check as many of these off as I can. So I'm currently on F. Uh, I'm listening to Canadian band Stars right now, whom I love.
Oh, I don't know stars.
Highly recommend. They're very good.
Okay. I'm running stars
Yeah.
down.
Nice. They were part of like the arts and crafts scene with like Metric and Broken Social Scene. And
Right on.
yeah, they're fantastic. All right, the get to know you stuff out of the way. Um, as far as makers, so the first question after all that I asked people that I thought would be a very simple one, but it's turned out not to be. What do you make?
Yeah. Multidisciplinary, really. For me, I focus on woodwork, on wood sculpture specifically,
Mhm.
maybe in the last like 10 years or so. Uh, I do mostly larger scale um, wood sculpture, but I have a background in drawing uh, and painting. Um, it's really hard to define, what I make, I guess, in a way, because yeah, I wanna make wood sculpture, but I can't let go of some of my roots. And like I was a portrait artist for a long time, and so I still do portraiture sometimes. Um, but I've really tried to focus on wood. I felt like I had almost a calling at one point to to take this natural, fibrous, crazy material that's both hard and soft, and uh, work with it, but also manipulate it into what I want it to be. Um, so so yeah, I'll never let go of drawing and painting, and sculpture of other kinds. But I desperately want to be uh, to focus on wood as much as I can.
Talking about your journey, do you remember like the early days, like what made you want to make things, whether it was starting drawing or paint? Did that come before the woodworking, the drawing and stuff?
Yeah, big time.
Which is phenomenal, by the way. I've just been like scrolling through your social media, man, and
Oh,
your
thanks,
drawings and your
dude.
paintings are incredible.
Thanks
I
so
can barely
much.
draw a straight line, so I'm so impressed.
Thanks so much, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like every kid, I started like coloring and drawing and stuff. There was an early moment that I do remember fairly vividly in grade one, or maybe it was kindergarten. I don't remember. But I drew, I kind of copied a picture. Do you know Robert Bateman? He's a Canadian like wildlife artist.
It
You would
sounds
probably
familiar.
know some of his work to see it. Anyways, there's this wonderful painting that he did in the 80s of a bald eagle flying over like a mountainscape. And I did my version of that in like grade one or whatever. And the teacher was so blown away by it. And it took me back, even as like a tiny child, like, whoa, this is like, I did a good thing. Like
Mhm.
that, like I'm good at this. I had no idea. Um, and honestly, that moment stuck with me, and led to, my teacher, but also my folks, my parents, and family and friends just kind of encouraging me, I think, which, well, this kind of brings up sort of a nature versus nurture thing. I don't know if I even believe in innate talent, but they called me talented, and that was a new word for me. And so I still don't know what that means, but I do know that the encouragement meant so much to me, and probably
Yeah.
led me down a path uh, of just pursuing any kind of artistic endeavor, whether it was more coloring and more drawing and plasticine and whatever. But that one drawing of the bald eagle flying, my teacher went apeshit over that. And so that really, I think,
Yeah.
helped me.
Amazing. Did you take any formal training, like art school or anything like that, or classes?
Sort of. Not I mean, there was a point after high school where I thought for sure I was going to go to art school, and I didn't. Um, but over the years, as a younger person, I do remember my folks um, got a local artist to sort of take me under their wing for a bit and give me sort of art lessons, like one-on-one stuff. And
Cool.
yeah, and I honestly I don't remember her name, but I do remember the time we had together, just like an hour here and there, like after school. Um, and that being really helpful. Um, and I don't know if she taught me anything specific, but she accommodated my learning, uh, and encouraged me. And coming from a professional artist, uh, I didn't even know, like every kid, every person knows, like, yeah, there's artists out there, right?
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
someone to make their entire living doing that, that opens somebody's eyes, I think, in a big way, even as like a 6 or 10 year old or however old I was.
It's amazing. It's nice. Yeah, it's good to have those people that kind of are in your corner and showing you that this stuff can happen. It's, you're you can make a living at it. That's very cool. Um, so when did you start working with wood as a medium? And what was that journey like? Did you start small, like with whittling, or work your way up to these giant carvings you're doing?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a progression. I guess scouts was a big thing for me. My dad was a scout leader, and I remember being in scouts, and knife safety was a big thing. Like they wouldn't let you
Yeah.
frig around with knives or anything unless you went through a process of talking about the safety of it. And I do remember whittling little things here and there. Um, the first piece that I made that I think was like actually like a properly good little wood sculpture. It was maybe like 20 years ago, a bit more than 20 years ago. Someone asked me to carve an owl for them. They wanted to give it to their friend as a gift. So it was like my first like carving commission. And yeah, no, and it was like I'd never like, yeah, I can whittle things. But I'd never made like a full like piece. And so I had a chunk of cedar, which is super soft and easy to carve, but doesn't hold detail that well either. I mean, that's the give and take of wood. But I whipped out this. It was a northern saw-whet owl, which is like the tiniest of the owls, like a literally like 6 inches was a life-size northern saw-whet owl.
Okay.
And she loved it, and she cried a little bit when I gave it to her, and it moved me so much that like something I could actually just do uh would would make someone so happy. And so uh that was super special to me. And that kind of opened my eyes that like, oh geez, dude, like, yeah, you draw and you can paint um and you just kind of frig around with different mediums, but maybe you could make some wood sculptures. Wouldn't that be
Mhm.
something? Yeah. Yeah. And so that really did inspire me to pursue um working with wood specifically.
It's awesome. Are you what's your shop like? Are you in your garage, or
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
in
in
my
my
basement right
garage.
now. This is my shop.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm in my garage right now where I feel safe. And it's it's a work in progress. I mean, it's still a garage. It's got garage things in it, lawnmowers and whatever. But I have tried to create like a a workspace that does work for me. It's a game changer, honestly, having an actual space like this. For years, all I had was well, outside or an area inside that I would make dirty and then have to immediately clean up because it's a multi-use space. Or my wife and I built a little cabin in the bush, and I did make a little shed that was my carving shed.
Nice.
And that was awesome. But I had to shovel my way up a hill to get to it and then make a fire and then start the generator and all this. How do you get down to creativity when you have to do all of that? I don't know how I did it, but I did it for a couple of years. So
That's
now I have a
impressive.
garage. Yeah, well, thanks, dude. Like, I must have just been so motivated to do it. I can't even imagine doing that now. But here I step out my door, I'm right in my shop, and so I'm good to go. Yeah.
So nice. Yeah. We moved to Hamilton about 7.5 years ago. And before that, we were downtown Toronto, like right in the heart of it. No, all we had was a balcony for outdoor space. That was it. But we were walled in by condos. It was horrible. We should say we're not going to dox your location, but you're in northern Ontario, like, if I'm not mistaken, by Lake Superior.
Yeah, very close to Lake Superior, north of Sault Ste.
Okay.
Marie. Yeah.
Man. So you just got like nothing but inspiration as soon as you look out your door. And obviously materials, being near the woods and everything.
That's very true. Yeah, I don't want for chunks of wood to hack up in my way. Yeah.
That's amazing. But yeah, when we were downtown talking about having a space that you could just leave messy if you needed to. We had a 2-bedroom apartment, and I used half of the dining room as my wood shop. And thankfully it was all like hand tools, so I wasn't throwing around too much of a mess. But
Right.
but I did get, in the last year we moved there or lived there, I bought a table saw, just like a little job site saw, because I purposely wanted to know how to do stuff by hand first before I started making it easier on myself with the power tools. But I mean, that would be out on our balcony, and I just firing sawdust off the balcony at the neighbors.
Your neighbors must have loved you guys. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like so loud and just clouds of dust. But now we got like a basement. It's like an old cellar basement. This house is like 100 years old, so this was like cold storage. So the ceiling's only like I can touch the ceiling and I'm sitting down. So it's a lot of hunching over and stuff, but it's my own space that I can keep all this stuff out down here, and it makes
That's
a world of
precious. That's
difference,
so
man.
great. I'm happy for you. That's so good.
Yeah, yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
you need your space. You need the art space. Uh, yeah. Oh, I love that. So you're in
definitely,
Hamilton.
definitely. Yeah,
Are Oh, okay,
yeah,
sweet. I follow someone on Instagram. I think it's just called Homes of Hamilton
okay,
or something. And it blows me away how many amazing like Victorian houses are all over your
yeah,
city. It blows me away how, and some of them are so like well kept and like restored. I don't have much experience with Hamilton except for visiting buddies like when they were in university.
oh yeah,
But what a beautiful city. Yeah.
yeah. It really is. There's. I mean, it's got its ugly parts, just like every city, but
Yeah,
we're
it's a
on the
steel
east.
town, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we live kind of near all the steel mills. We're in the East End. Um, but it's like we're 10 minutes from downtown if we need to get down there for anything. We're 10 minutes to go up the escarpment if we need anything up there. Everything in our neighborhood we can walk to. Like, we know our butcher, we know the people that serve us coffee. It's kind of like, it feels to us like Queen Street in Toronto did like 30 years ago when we were kids and we'd go visit the big city. And like everything seemed more smaller mom and pop shops, whereas now it's like condos and chains and stuff. Um, so yeah, we really lucked out with this neighborhood. We know our neighbors now. We know people in the community. So um, yeah, we love it here. It's a beautiful,
Wait,
beautiful spot. Yeah, we're so happy. And we moved
awesome.
we moved just before the pandemic, or well, I guess a couple years before the pandemic. But man, we were like, how fortunate were we to get out before everything locked down? Like, we would have gone nuts in a 2-bedroom apartment with no outdoor space, nowhere to. You wouldn't have been able to leave our floor at all, or even our apartment. Whereas here we had a backyard. We could just sit there under a tree and be like, well, at least we have this, you know?
No doubt. And home prices also.
Well, yeah, that was the number one thing that kicked it off. We're like, it'd be great to own something someday. We would never be able to afford Toronto prices.
No.
Where else? Not like I grew up in Brantford, which is about 20 minutes away from
I know.
here, and my whole family is still there. So we were like, well, we go a little closer to the family, and yeah. So couldn't be happier. I love the city. Amazing art scene here too. Like, it's very community driven. The whole art, like all the artists want to involve all the other art. It's all like, hey, I'm showing at this place. Come along and show your stuff. Or,
Right on.
people hear about craft fairs and stuff, and they're sending messages out to everyone, be like, get involved in this. So that was another big reason. My wife's an artist as well, so that was another
Awesome.
pull to Hamilton. Yep, we love it. But I do dream of one day just moving to the woods and
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Walden-esque existence of living deliberately in the woods. Maybe one day.
But yeah, 100%. I feel that. I did that kind of, but more out of necessity than anything else, really. Like, I can't well, I don't know. I grew up in mostly small towns. And as I I graduated high school, was thinking about university and where I should be. And I realized, well, shit, dude, like, I don't know if you can afford life in any city, let alone, you know? So,
Yeah,
I came up here, thinking about, about an exceptionally modest life. Just like do what you can to exist. Because I really did feel like that was maybe my only option, especially if I was considering being a full-time artist, uh, which I'm not, but I am really glad of where I ended up. And there's small towns, and then there's small towns uh, with maybe more of a pulse or more of a, uh, no, I guess that's a good way to say it. The surrounding area, I don't know if you've been up here before. Lake Superior is a gem. In the surrounding
yeah.
area of where
I've
I
driven
live.
through. I've never stopped, but yeah, I've driven through it.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous country, and it's just more livable, financially, in general. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. So yeah, I mean, you have so much inspiration. Where do your ideas come from? Your inspiration come from? Obviously, it's a lot to do with nature. But I mean, you've got all these amazing like carvings of like wizard heads and stuff. What
Yeah.
draws you towards that kind of thing? Those are so amazing. But what was the impetus for like stuff like that? Um, how are you drawn to those kinds of things?
Yeah. I don't, that's tough because I guess what I was going for initially with all my like bearded, like wizard kind of sculptures was more of like have you heard of tree spirits?
I
Just
don't think I
as a
have.
okay, it's when it comes to wood carving, there's a handful of like mainstays. It's like people carve bears, like obviously, like every wood carver makes bears.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh, I made one bear. I dig it, but I just don't want to make bears all day long.
yeah,
Another one is Well, another one of the mainstays is what they call a tree spirit. And so normally it's carved into a tree, whether it's alive or dead. And it's just kind of a beardy, flowing face, like a beard, and often just carved right into a tree. And I didn't want to call them, yeah, I think they're amazing. And there's so many wonderful artists making insane tree spirits. I just didn't like the term. So I started calling mine wizards, honestly. And I'm a huge Tolkien nerd too. So like Lord of the Rings
Okay.
and stuff like that, it just seemed to fit. Um, but what I was actually going for was the Green Man. And the Green Man is a symbol. It's going back thousands of years. It's kind of a Celtic, or maybe even before the Celts. Uh, it's a sort of like a, I don't know, an image of a nature person, often with like leaves forming their beard or coming out of their face, their
Oh,
eyes, their
cool.
nose, their mouth. And actually that's the direction I'm going to be going into now, is I'm going to incorporate more natural shapes like leaves and things, rather than creating a beard out of hair or hair out of hair. Uh,
Yeah.
I kind of want to bring it back to the roots of, well, this is just a symbol of nature. Um, and wood spirit, really, when you think about it, is a good term for that. I just, for some reason, avoided it. But yeah, so much of it, I think, comes from like old Celtic, old Norse or medieval symbolism.
Very cool. Speaking of Norse, I should show you. This is one of the sculptures I made, Mjölnir.
Oh, dope. Look at that. That is hefty.
I got some
Nice
runes on
job.
there. Did those
Oh,
by hand.
wicked, dude.
This looks like I
Nice.
did some cool carving, but this is actually just an old belt I found at an antique shop, and I just used
Oh,
it as
wonderful.
a. So that was
Oh,
a
that's
Christmas
cool.
gift to my wife a few years ago. She loves Thor and Norse mythology, so yeah.
That's
I was
amazing.
like, I got to show him when I was reading up about you. I'm
Yeah.
like, I think he'd love that.
Oh, I love it. That's so cool.
I saw a news clipping on your Instagram that made me laugh. I believe you were carving a pumpkin, a giant pumpkin, and the quote was, "Because he woke up with a cold, Adam Martin carved a pumpkin face with a runny nose," which I love that. I thought that was great. Because I think oftentimes, like I do the same, just like wake up with an idea and want to do that. Um, but also sometimes I just see a piece of wood and you can kind of see what it wants to be, um, if that makes sense. I'm just wondering if that's the same for you. Like, do you tend to plan these things out and then find the material that fits that, or the other way around, or a bit of both?
That's an awesome question. Uh, uh, so much of it depends on the medium, I think. Uh, when it comes to wood, uh, there are certain things you cannot do with a certain piece of wood. Wood isn't a block of styrofoam that you can carve into whatever you want. So there are limitations with grain orientation, with knots and impurities in the wood.
Hmm.
With the pumpkin, that I'm so glad you brought that up. I used to carve giant pumpkins at Port Elgin Pumpkinfest. It's one of the big pumpkin weigh-offs in North America. And
Yeah.
so I would show up, I would not see the pumpkin until I got there. And so to
Wow.
me, that dictated, well, like, are you going to plan out something? Maybe you should just see the pumpkin first. And in that particular case, I remember seeing that pumpkin and feeling like garbage, but the shape of the pumpkin, did dictate, okay, you're going to do a face. I knew I was going to do a face, but the shape of it was very wide, not like a tall
Mhm.
pumpkin. But these pumpkins are like the ones they weigh are like 1,000 pounds, but this one was like, I don't know, like a 400-pound pumpkin.
Wow.
Yeah, they're huge. And I don't know. I just felt like, okay, if you're doing a wide face like that, I started drawing it out and it seemed very sad and squished. And it made me feel like, oh, you're fairly sad and squished right now, like with your snot rolling out of your nose. And so then I just went with it. Um, but yeah, no, I'm not going to pretend that I'm like Michelangelo carving away everything that isn't the sculpture I had in
The final
mind. But
sculpture, yeah.
yeah, but um, but whatever chunk of thing that I'm whittling away, um, I'll definitely take the shape of it and like the feeling of it into account for sure. As I'm planning, and I can plan whatever the heck I want, but uh, so many things can affect the design as I go on the move, right?
For sure, yeah. Are you the kind of person who like, I mean, like you said, you can't really plan so much, but do you do like sketches or models before you start on the finished piece, or do you just get to work and start making it?
Yeah, I want to be more of let's just get down to business and start making wood chips fly. But I'm just not that person. I plan as much as I possibly can, right down to using clay or whatever to make a miniature 3D model of what I want it to be. I'll
Oh,
often do that. But also drawings from different angles, straight on, and at least a profile from each side. I
cool.
try to plan as much as I possibly can. But like I said, I can throw a lot of that out the window as I go. If I need to roll with it, then I try to be open to that. So much of art of any kind for me is is correcting mistakes and rolling with the punches.
Yeah. That's a lesson that all woodworkers have to learn, how to fix your screw ups and
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Do you ever like if you're creating something like an idea that you had, does the audience that will see it come into play very much? Like, would you not do something if you think maybe that won't sell or people might not get that or anything, or you just make what you want to make?
Uh, I I try to just make art for me. Uh, I don't have such obscure taste that that I don't think other people might enjoy it. Um, when it comes to taking commissions, though, it can be tough. I've turned down loads and loads of things that I'm just like I'm just not into making that, or it's not going to work as a piece the way you think it is. I try to steer clients into a direction that makes sense. I've talked to a lot of tattoo artists who deal with that on a daily basis, right? People come in
Yeah.
with their insane ideas, like I want a graveyard with a unicorn and whatever, and they talk them out of a bad idea, but in a direction that still fulfills their vision for their piece. And so I do deal with a lot of that kind of client relations sort of stuff. But truly, like I'll take commissions all day long, but I want to just make what I want to make, like any artist.
Nice.
And I think that if I love it, then somebody out there, somebody will love it too.
Yeah, for sure. We need more like I was gonna say weirdness, but not everything is weird. Stuff that you might think is weird, there's tons of
Yeah,
people out there who love it, and you're just putting beauty out in the world. That's a thing that should be admired,
totally.
and yeah. What's your process like? Do you have music playing while you're working, or are you like a no noise focused kind of guy? I know you work with like chainsaws and stuff, so that might be difficult to have stuff going on in the background, but
Yeah, I do. I always have music going in the shop. Um, but I looked into like ear protection. It's also like, uh, like Bluetooth, like
Bluetooth,
headphones.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but I actually never bought them. I thought that I would like it, but I'm constantly taking my hearing protection on and off, and like the whole thing just doesn't work for the way I do this. So, um, I'm in my head a heck of a lot, I think. Uh,
Yeah,
I'll take the hearing protection off like I'm not always working with power tools, but when I am, it's a write-off, and whatever's in my head is going to be what I'm hearing, and I'm
yeah.
really focused. But if I'm working with hand tools in a quieter environment, then it's always tunes. It's always tunes.
Exactly the same. And I have also looked into so many pairs of those Bluetooth earmuffs, but for the same reason, I'm like, I can't justify spending like $100 or however much on these things that like really I prefer working with hand tools. So
Yes.
I'm not really
Yes.
going to be using them that often, and I don't like having them on all the time. Um, so like the exact same reasons. But I always just have a playlist going in the basement, and like if I use a power tool, well, I just can't hear it for a few minutes while I'm working on that. But
Totally.
yeah, yeah, music is a big one. I always got to have something going on. Even my day job, I'm a web developer, and I just listen to music constantly all day.
Right
Um,
on.
but I work with some people who need dead silence while they're working on their computer, and I'm like, I don't understand that. How do you get
Yeah.
through a day?
It's amazing how different people function. Like my wife will be listening to the radio, like, like some like CBC documentary or something, but also reading and also doing something else. And I couldn't function that way, but some people are just like that.
Yeah, yeah. I used to when I was younger. I used to be able to read like three books at the same time. Obviously, not holding three books out, but I could
Yeah.
start one
Yeah.
book, get a couple chapters in, and then grab a second book, get a couple chapters in, go back. Like I could bounce around. I can't now. I'm just like I got to finish this one and then jump to the next. But
Right.
do you have any do you have any bad habits when you're working? Like me, I don't put stuff away while I'm working on a project, and it drives me crazy because at the end of the project, I then either have to put everything away, like literally just this side of the camera is just a pile of tools and sandpaper and scraps because I just finished a project. Um, but yeah, do you have any like bad habits or anything?
Well, yeah, that's definitely one of mine too,
Mhm.
is everything's kind of a mess all the time, honestly.
Yeah,
But I do know where everything is. So that organized chaos that people talk about, I think is real. And as long as you're not sharing that space with somebody else, I think that that's totally okay. Um, I do spend a lot of time staring at whatever the heck I'm making, and not actually working on it. Maybe that's
yeah.
normal. Maybe that's okay. But when people ask, for example, like, "Well, how many hours do you have into that?" That's a that's a non-question for me. Like, I have no clue. Uh,
Yeah.
so, and I don't think that's a bad habit necessarily. It just means that I think that's just the reality of making. You do have to think a heck of a lot, and that is work. But it's not. It's not. the kind of work that you can see results out of immediately, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do spend, like, even with painting or drawing or whatnot, there's a ton of time just staring at it.
My next question was, how long does it take you to make stuff?
Okay, good.
I'm actually kidding. That wasn't my next question.
Yeah.
I was like, I bet he gets asked that all the time. How long did that one take? And it's like, I don't know.
Well, I come up with an answer, but I mean, that's
Sure,
normally
yeah.
when it's tied to a price, right? So they want to know
Yeah.
what your hourly rate is, and
Yeah.
I don't really have one. So yeah.
Nice. I've got some stereotypical woodworker questions for you.
Cool.
Uh, how many clamps do you have?
Oh, um, not enough.
That's the correct answer.
I'm looking at I'm looking at about 20 right here, and that's nowhere near enough.
Amazing. Nice. I was like, if he says not enough, that will be awesome, because that's the answer I give all the time. uh, how do you feel about sanding, just in general?
Well, like, I have a love-hate relationship with sanding.
Mhm.
Uh, I've talked to other, like, wood sculptors who have said that like, if they're in a competition, for example, the carving is for the other carvers. Like, they'll see your carving and they'll love it or hate it or whatever. But the sanding
Mm,
is for the judges.
okay.
And that kind of stuck with me a bit. Uh, I truly do feel that finishing work is paramount when it comes to furniture, when it comes to anything.
Mhm.
But holy crap, it takes as long as the carving process, honestly.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can imagine.
yeah, especially when you're talking about like an intricate hills and valleys, and how do you even get in there to sand? And so yeah, sanding sucks,
Mm,
but I get into it. I get right into it, and I just accept that. And I
yeah.
sand probably far too much. I want to get rid of, if I'm using like power tools, for example, and it creates tool marks in a piece. My goal is to get rid of every single tool mark so it looks like it's alabaster. I don't want uh, I don't want the process to be seen in a way.
Okay.
Now with
Amazing.
flat surfaces, I've made some tables and things, and sanding is a whole nother level when it comes to that. I mean, if it's not sanded properly, it will not take a finish, whether
Yeah.
it's oil or stain or whatever.
Mhm.
So honestly, like 50% of my woodworking tasks are it's sanding. And I think I've just made
Yeah.
peace with that.
Nice. I always see, like, yeah, woodworkers just like, oh, I hate sanding. It's the worst. I mean, most of the stuff I do, I think, is flat surfaces.
Yeah,
Um, so I just get into, like, it's almost like a meditative state of sanding.
totally.
And I like it a lot. Just like, I can just shut my brain off and just do this thing. And I don't know. I like the repetition, and I like getting bored doing sanding. I'm like, I'm still doing this, but okay, here we are. And
Honestly, like,
yeah,
yeah, if you can embrace that stage of the piece,
yeah,
uh, you've earned it. You've gone through all the
right?
other, yeah, you've used your brain enough. Now it's sanding time and you can shut off and just enjoy that process. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I feel like the the end product really starts to just slowly unveil itself while you're sanding. And so I love, like you said, getting rid of all these tool marks and stuff. it depends on what I'm working on. Some things I like seeing the tool marks because it shows like my I did it by hand, you know. So I like that. But there have definitely been things where very meticulous about getting every mark out, every nick, every scratch, the works, you know, every tool mark, and just to see it all just start to get smooth and refined and everything, and kind of, you know, take its final form is just, it's amazing to me. So still so cool.
I love that. Yeah, and that's why we work with wood, right? I mean, the wood won't really show itself until it's properly sanded and finished, right?
Yeah,
And so in a way, it's kind of the whole point of the whole piece you're working on is to let it sing.
exactly. So good. What are your favorite tools that you own or have worked with in the past?
I have a ton of like wood carving gouges, like chisels with various shapes. Um, again, like clamps, I don't have enough. Uh, but I absolutely, like I heard you say, you would always love to be working with hand tools as much as you could. Same with me. Um, uh, even right here, I have, well, just an example of a gouge. It's probably not sharp at all, really, right now. But here's a big chisel
Wow.
that literally just gets hit with a mallet, and it's just so pure, right?
Nice.
I
Yeah.
love that kind of work as much as I possibly can. Now, I'm not a Luddite. I do embrace power tools as much as I can, um,
Hmm.
or any uh, or any technology really that does help me. Uh, but going back to basics like that, back to traditional, quiet. There's no need for a dust mask. There's no need for hearing protection. All that.
Yeah.
My favorite tools are my hand tools, but I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the noisy, messy ones too.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, the noisy, messy ones are really fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, Speaking of technology, how do you feel about things like CNC machines? That's kind of a contentious subject in woodworking, I find.
Oh yeah, no, good question. I think that there's a place for anything like that. A good example might be like I do a lot of lake cutouts, the shore of a lake in wood, like someone's like favorite lake, their cottages on it or whatever. And I'll do that by hand, no problem. But I know some people have asked me for like, well, I want my lake, but I want the topography of the lake bottom carved
Yeah.
rather than just the outline of the lake.
Mm.
So yeah, I could do that by hand, but if I'm doing a lot of them, or it's a very intricate, detailed, complicated lake, a CNC machine could carve the heck out of that pretty quickly. Like you could even input the topography right into the computer and it would just do it for you. And then you could always kind of finish it by hand. I'm all for that. I think it's dope, but I think it's more of a mass production tool and I'm not into that. So I don't know. I have many times thought about, well, let's just spend like 15 grand and buy a sweet CNC machine and it'll pay for itself in a year.
Yeah.
But it's just not my jam. I don't like, I'm a wood carver. I don't really, it has its place, but it's not for me.
Yeah. Again, I am the same. Uh, I
Mhm.
I think, yeah, for stuff you're talking about is great. Like you could get these intricate details, and also that's time that you're not spending on that you could be spending on something else. So it kind of speeds up what you're capable of, which is great. And I've seen people flatten like giant slabs with a CNC, and obviously that's like amazing use of technology, because that would take forever by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've thought about it. I used to make these book holders, so you'd wear them on your thumb, and it was just like to hold the book open with one hand. It would just splay the book out, and made every single one of those
Oh
by hand.
yeah.
I have no idea how many I've made, but at one point I was like, I could get a CNC machine and just crank these bad boys out. One sheet of wood could get me whatever 50 done in with little effort. But the thing I liked about those things is that they looked like someone made them by hand. Like the very first one I made was with basswood, and all I had was a whittling kit. I had a whittling kit and an awl, and so I hammered the awl in through this piece of basswood by hand to make a hole, and then just used sandpaper to make it wide enough for my thumb to go in. And that's, my wife still has that one. I think it's hideous, but she loves it. But I got up to a point where I started, okay, this is the shape I want, and I can make them kind of consistently. But every single one was still different. Like the wood would be, I used a bunch of different wood species, and like you said, it kind of, you got to kind of let the wood dictate the end product a little bit. You got to go with the grain and everything. So each one would
Yeah.
just be a little bit different, which is great. A little different size, a little different texture. So yeah, I was like, I can't get that with a CNC. So I don't envision myself ever getting a CNC for those kinds of things. But if I was ever in need to flatten large things or something, or stuff like you're talking about with the high detail, like it's great for that. But I also don't like that people are pitting like CNC pro versus CNC anti people, like it's all still making stuff. It's
Yeah. No, I
at the end
totally
of the day.
agree. I mean, I have the same thoughts about digital artwork, for example, like digital painting. Like, uh,
Mm,
it's it's a wonderful tool, and it definitely makes painting easier. Uh,
yeah.
but it's if you have to know what you're doing, you have to learn the tool. No, sorry, you know what? It's a terrible comparison. Digital painting is wonderful, and end of story. Uh, we're not talking about mass producing here. Um,
Yeah.
but but yeah, like you brought up like flattening like a slab. I never really thought of like CNC. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. Something that can plane down a giant piece of wood to be a flat surface. 100%. That's probably the most useful tool ever for someone making tabletops. Like you
Oh
can't.
yeah.
No one's going to hand plane a 4 foot by 8 foot slab of walnut. I mean, God
No.
bless you if you want to do that, but nobody's doing that. Yeah.
It'll be a $50,000 table at least. It'd be insane.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Have you had any gnarly like woodworking injuries?
Uh, Nothing too gnarly.
No.
No, not really. Like a ton of cuts, a ton of stitches. Um, I did axe my thumb once, and they had to take a piece out of it, and then they stitched it together, and so it was all tight as fuck, and I couldn't like move. But it's all good. It could have been way worse. Uh, I've been working with chainsaws for like 20 years, and I've never had a chainsaw injury, thank goodness. But I've had close calls, but no, I have not. I've gone to the hospital many times, but I've not had any catastrophic injuries yet. Honestly, I think you do what we do for long enough, you're gonna get hurt, even if you're super safe and super experienced. Um, it happens to experts, like shit happens. But no,
Yeah.
so far so good. You?
Nice. Knock on wood. I've
Nice.
been to the emergency room twice, but they're not like life-threatening things. Cut through this finger with a handsaw once. That was just one of those things where I was tired when I started it, and I was like, I should just come back to this tomorrow. And I wasn't using the right kind of saw. As
Right.
like, I was just like, oh, but if I just get this done, then tomorrow I'll be able to start fresher. And it was literally on the last push of the saw through. It broke through the wood and just raked across my finger.
Damn.
So that was fun. Yeah. It only bends like that far now, but whatever.
Right.
Yeah, didn't need stitches though. Like you could see the knuckle bone, which was neat, but they just put that like stitch glue on there to hold it together. So that's kind of cool. I like that scar. But the other one I had was like one of the worst things that has ever happened to me in life. I cut my eyeball. Uh, the worst, and it was again just being an idiot. This sounds stupid, but I cut my eyeball sanding of product. I was making a ring box for my brother-in-law for his wedding. It was in the final stages, and it was like the first go through of sandpaper. I'm sanding the whole inside because I assembled the box before I sanded. So I was like, oh, you idiot, this is so difficult to like sand inside, but I was determined. So anyways, sanding away, and I blew the sawdust to get it out of the box, and it all went in my eyes. And of course, the first thing you do is rub your eyes. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I got sawdust in my eyes. No big deal. And it was about an hour later, it started to feel like a finger was in my eye, like just this hot pressure. And I was like, something's going on. And anyways, yeah, I'm also a person who hates anything around my eyes, touching my eyes, anything like that. So I looked in the mirror and I could see something right in the center, and I thought it was sawdust still. And so I had to just like suck it up and touch my eyeball and try to clear it away. And it wasn't going away. So anyways, long, painful story short, I went to the emergency room and they squirted iodine in my eye and put like a blue light on it. And they're like, yep, there you go. You got a cut on your eyeball right across the middle there. So it was not fun.
Does that affect your
But
vision?
no, it totally healed up, completely fine. Like, I have totally fine vision. I was hoping they would give me an eye patch or something so I could look like a pirate for a week. But
Yeah, at least then.
no,
Honestly,
yeah, right.
if I did lose an eye, I'd rock an eye patch and it'd be okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to say that. No.
No. But yeah, I have eye protection on all the time now when I'm working. So I'm like, nothing of that magnitude can happen again, please.
Yes. I feel like I wear glasses, so like people that wear glasses, even though they're not safety glasses, I need these, so I'm kind of protected usually.
Yeah. Nice. Since you mentioned Pumpkinfest earlier, I like to try to do some research so that these are like good, entertaining conversations. And you're a very difficult person to find information on. You're very off grid, which is great. So I had to ask our mutual friend Crystal, who anyone who's listened to the podcast knows she was on episode 2. You and her go way back.
Oh yeah, way back.
Yeah, so I asked her, do you have any tidbits you could give me that we could bring up? And
oh shit, what did she say?
she did tell me she's got tons of embarrassing stories, but we're not going to do that. We're not trying to like,
okay,
this isn't a gotcha podcast or anything. Everything was very glowing. She did call you, quote, one of my favorite people in the entire world.
Oh, that's sweet.
Such high praise coming from someone like Crystal. She's awesome. But yeah, she told me about Pumpkinfest and said that the giant pumpkin carvings were amazing and drew so many people, which is incredible. pretty much most of the things she gave me were just, oh, and he's amazing. He did this. He had pieces displayed at Southampton Art Gallery, which is incredible.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and she said you can play guitar and sing. Multi-talented.
I do. I don't these days as much as I should, but yeah, there's
Yeah.
been lots of campfires over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, she did mention there's usually a fire involved. And speaking of fire, what can you tell me about the piano burning?
Oh shit. Yeah. Um one of my
What do you
passions is
remember?
what do I remember from the piano break? Um uh I've always been like a big antique nerd. My folks collect antiques, and I just always loved old, interesting things. And so when I was, I don't know, a teenager, I bought a piano off a guy out of his barn. And I don't know, I didn't really care. Like, it wasn't expensive or anything. I just thought maybe I'm going to save this piano. I talked to some people at where was it? At some university. It might have been U of T. Uh, some piano like experts, and they said, well, okay, I sent the pictures and whatever. They said this piano will never sound great because the soundboard is cracked and whatever. And I realized, you know what? I'm not going to keep this piano. And so I had a cremation of it. I think a lot of people might hear, oh, you burned an antique piano. Well, it's a really douchey, like shitty thing to do. Uh, but in this case, yeah, maybe it was kind of shitty, but there was no life left in this piano. And so we did have a big party at my parents' house out in the country, invited a bunch of folks out, and we had a giant bonfire and lit the piano. And it went up pretty quick, but I did get some photos of me trying to play it while it was on fire. Uh, some of those photos, I don't know. There's got to be one or two floating around out there that are actually good. But I had exceptionally long hair back then, and so I was sort of head banging around while I was playing it. So the hair was kind of flaming up with the piano. Uh, it was just a neat, fun thing to do, and a lot of people showed up. People I didn't even really know that well, just wanted to go see piano burn. So so that was a really cool experience, but I tried to do it with respect. It was a cremation, not a douchey, let's burn some
Yeah.
musical instruments kind of thing.
Nice. Still says she does have photos somewhere of that. So
Okay, good, good.
yeah. I don't want to keep you too long. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and chatting. I just got a few like wrap up questions. I know as soon as we stop this, I'm gonna be like, I've got 10 other questions I wish I asked him.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll do a part 2 down the road or something.
yeah, man, sounds good.
I was just wondering about advice for people starting out, say in wood carving specifically. What kind of advice would you give them? And did you get any advice when you were starting out that really helped you along?
The safety aspect of wood carving, I think, is super important. I mean, most artistic endeavors uh, don't really require much in the way of safety concern, right? But
Right.
even if you're just whittling with a knife, I don't know anyone who likes to whittle who hasn't cut themselves fairly bad. So be prepared to bleed a little bit. Um, there are like, special gloves that are like chainmail gloves. Even I know some people use those, and um, but that's going to hamper your ability really to properly hold your piece. I don't know. Um, the safety aspect. Don't grab a tool thinking, like, even if it's a simple knife, and think that it's just a knife. I think that there are plenty of courses out there, especially if you live in like anywhere near a major city center, of people putting on, like introduction to carving. And please take advantage of that. Don't be headstrong and think that you can just think yourself through it, especially if you're thinking about using any kind of power tool. Chainsaws, no way. Don't even touch a chainsaw unless you know what you're doing. There's one tool, just because you asked this, that I need people to stay away from. Angle grinders are a big part of carving. And there's a tool out there that is an angle grinder disc, but around the outside is chainsaw teeth.
Is a chain. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't even touch that. Like it's just there's better tools out there that do the same thing, but way safer and way more efficiently and just better. So please, if you see something that looks like a round chainsaw, that goes on an angle grinder, just don't even touch it.
Yeah. It looks like something that came from a horror movie or like a Saw movie
Right?
or something. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, the damage you can do with that. And I've seen some of the damage, don't Google it. Just trust me.
no.
uh,
No.
yeah. No, but with wood carving specifically, like if you're talking about just knives and gouges, please just do like a little course, do a little thing. There's a wonderful carving store called Chipping Away. I believe it's in Kitchener, Waterloo. Even just cold call them, give them a shout, and just ask for some advice or talk to somebody who does this. And just don't go in blind or alone. Also, if you want to carve wood, if you want to sculpt the thing, make it out of plasticine or Play-Doh or whatever you have first. Just try that. If you can't make it out of Play-Doh, you can't make it out of wood or stone or
Mhm.
or whatever. So just play with your 3D thinking. Um, just experiment with sculpture, and then try to translate that into whatever medium, whether it's wood or not. Uh, it's really wonderful to throw away all your adult like ego, and to just play with clay. Just do that first, and experiment. I think it's a huge important part of being any kind of artist is to revert to your childhood brain as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Um, as a maker, what would you say is your proudest achievement?
Oh, that's I don't. Most of my achievements are mine, that I feel that most people wouldn't understand. A specific piece that I made, a problem that I solved. Uh, but I did do one of one of one of the people, one of the Canadian people out there who inspired me so much ever since I was tiny. Was a man named Bill Mason, and Bill Mason was a painter, a filmmaker, and a canoeist. He worked for the National Film Board for a long time, making wonderful films about canoeing and art. And I did a portrait of him, which was purchased by various organizations and given to his daughter, who then passed it on to her mom, Bill Mason's wife, who still has it. And I mean, it's a small portrait of a man out in the sunshine, but it meant so much to me that it ended up in Bill Mason's family's household somehow. Uh,
That's incredible.
that's uh, that's something that I'm so very.
Nice. You've got so much skill in so many different disciplines. Is there anything that you haven't tried yet that you wanted to?
Uh, Always loved film so much. And I'm 42 years old. I'm deep into a career and deep into my own uh, endeavors, but how accessible even like short filmmaking is these days, I think that I would love to film some things and edit some things and make a product that is maybe like even just a short, tiny film.
Nice. Would it be like a Star Wars film? Or...
Wouldn't that be sick? Yeah, I do have a lightsaber, but I'm not sure if I'd
Nice.
go that direction. I again, bringing up Bill Mason's work, please look up Bill Mason. The NFB website has all of his films. Um, I think something like an outdoor sort of canoe trip. I'm also doing paintings and reflecting and something simple like.
Nice. I'll leave links in the show notes for all that stuff, and I will look it up
Yeah,
myself. That's
awesome,
awesome.
sick.
So where can people see your work, like in real life or online, and purchase your work or support you?
Yeah, lately, like I don't have a gallery these days. The best place to see my work would be on Instagram right now. Um, I go by Effigy Wood, uh, and I post like all the time. And so that's a good place to just see what I'm up to. To physically see my work these days, you'd have to come up way north to to come check it out.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, online, Effigy Wood on Instagram is the best place. I do have a website, but I'm in between um, providers right now. I'm going to switch it up. So so yeah, Instagram is the place to be for that.
Nice. Where did the name Effigy come from?
I don't know. I was trying to think of something cool, like a handle. I've been using my own name, um, adamrobertmartin.com. It's clunky and long. And um, so the word effigy to me was pretty like it's profound in sculpture specifically. Like most people have heard of the term burnt in effigy or burning in effigy. Uh, an effigy is really just a representation of a physical object. Uh, and I feel like that's just like in a nutshell, it's kind of what I do. And so, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt like it was an underused word and had like a more basic meaning that I could maybe take advantage of. Um, and so I just grabbed onto that. Uh, yeah, effigy. Often it's also kind of like maybe melancholy or even like macabre or um, even ghoulish to some people because it's often on gravestones or whatnot. But that kind of goes with my whole deal, anyways. So I latched on.
Nice. Yeah, it suits you, man.
Thanks,
Um,
man.
so yeah, that's it. Those are all my questions. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And I've heard nothing but good things from Crystal, so she was very excited for us to meet in real life, so to speak.
Yeah, no, me too. Thanks, Christian. No, awesome to meet you, and I can't wait to see more of your woodwork too, and maybe we'll touch base in real life someday.
That would be great, man. Well, there you have it. Two woodworkers meeting and geeking out over sawdust, sanding, and pizza, and everything else that matters in life. Is there more that matters in life than that? I don't think so. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I want to thank my new friend Adam again for the chat, and also to previous guest Crystal Overland for introducing us. Be sure to check out the show notes for information on how you can see Adam's work and support him. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Just want to say thanks again to you for listening. If you like what you hear, feel free to leave a review or rating or share the podcast or whatever it is people do with these things nowadays. It's all very much appreciated. And if you're a maker and would like to be part of the show, please send me a DM on Instagram. I'm under I am Woodbeard, or email me at podcast@woodbeard.ca. I really hope I see you all next time. Until then, be there for each other and have a good one. Woodbeard Meets Makers is a Woodbeard production. Audio engineering and production by Woodbeard. Editing by Woodbeard. Music by Woodbeard. Awkward laughs and stammering by Woodbeard.